Hi, it's Randy. Since I launched the Tap Success website and the Tap Success YouTube channel, people have contacted me and asked me about some details of how they can manifest their things in their life. And I think the best answer in general is that people are trying too hard. Here's a story that explains what I mean. It's old and I've changed some of the words, but you'll recognize this if you've heard it before, and you'll understand what I'm saying. A new rabbi and his wife were assigned to their first congregation to reopen a synagogue in suburban Brooklyn. They arrived and were excited about their opportunities. When they saw their synagogue, however, it was very run down and needed much work. They set a goal to have everything done in time for their first worship service. They worked hard, repairing aged pews, plastering and painting walls, and they were ahead of schedule. But the following day, a terrible snowstorm hit the area, which lasted for 2 days. When the storm passed, the rabbi went back to the synagogue, and his heart sank when he saw that the roof had leaked, causing a large area of plaster to fall off the front wall of the sanctuary just behind the pulpit. The rabbi cleaned up the mess on the floor as best he could, and, not knowing what else to do, headed home. On the way home, he noticed that a local business was having a flea market type sale for charity, so he stopped. One of the items for sale was a beautiful handmade ivory-colored crocheted tablecloth with exquisite work, fine colors, and a Star of David embroidered right in the center. It was just the right size to cover the hole in the front wall of his sanctuary. He happily bought it and headed right back to the synagogue. By the time he got back to the synagogue, it had started to snow. As he drove up to the synagogue, an older woman running from the opposite direction just missed her bus. The rabbi invited her inside the warm synagogue as she waited for the next bus. She sat in a pew and paid no attention to the rabbi while he got out a ladder and hangers to put up the tablecloth as a wall tapestry. The rabbi could hardly believe how beautiful it looked and how well it covered up the problem area. But as he turned around, the rabbi noticed the woman walking down the center aisle. Her face was white as a sheet. "Rabbi," she asked, "where did you get that tablecloth?" The rabbi explained about the plaster damage and the charity sale. The woman was not hearing him. She asked him to check the lower right corner to see if the initials EBG were crocheted there. They were. Those were her initials, and she had made this tablecloth 35 years before in Poland. She explained that before the war, she and her husband were rather well off, but when the Nazis came, they were forced to leave. Her husband was going to follow her the next week, but he was captured, sent to a camp, and she never saw her husband or her home again. The rabbi, hearing her story, offered to give her the tablecloth, but she refused and made him keep it for the worship service. The rabbi insisted on driving her home. After all, that was the least he could do. She lived on the other side of Staten Island and was only in Brooklyn for the day. They had their worship service, and what a wonderful worship service it was. The synagogue was almost full, the service was great, and at the end of the service, the rabbi and his wife greeted everyone at the door, and many said that they would return. However, one older man, whom the rabbi recognized from the neighborhood, continued to sit in one of the pews and stare. And the rabbi wondered why he wasn't leaving. The man asked him where he got the tablecloth for the sanctuary, because it was identical to one that his wife had made years ago when they lived in Poland. He was puzzled how there could be two tablecloths so much alike. He told the rabbi how the Nazis had come, how he forced his wife to flee for her safety, and how he had planned to follow her, but had been arrested and put in a camp. He never saw her again. Hearing this man's story, the rabbi asked if they could go for a little ride together. They drove to the same house on Staten Island where the rabbi had taken the woman just 3 days earlier. He helped the man climb the 3 flights of stairs to the woman's apartment. He knocked on the door, and he witnessed the greatest union that can only be imagined. Now, there is no person alive who could possibly predict or plan or orchestrate the level of coincidences that went into this story. There is the leaky roof and the snowstorm, and there is the broken plaster. But what made the rabbi stop at the sale? What made the woman miss her bus? What made her look up to see him hanging her tablecloth in the sanctuary? What made her give it back to him for the worship service where the man would see it? None of these things can be planned or predicted or coordinated by any human level of awareness. So our job is to raise our level of vibration to the level where these events do happen and happen with some regularity. We could not possibly plan them. Our job is to simply raise our vibration and allow them to happen. But let's take it one step further. There is a level of awareness where we can be grateful for all of the contrast we have experienced in the past that has led us to this present understanding of awareness, of how all of it fits together. When we're looking at the contrast close up, we are seeing the nitty-gritty. We're seeing the details at a level that is macroscopic, if you will. If we raise our vibration, we get to see that that is one color or one texture in a larger tapestry. And the larger picture we can get, the bigger we can see this tapestry and how everything fits together and how every little part of it is important and necessary. And if we can maintain that level of awareness, then we can begin to see the end in the beginning. And when we can see the end in the beginning, we can be grateful for the journey that unfolds in the fullness of time. That will take a little bit more understanding, but basically, the fullness of time is where things are mature, where things are at their best, and that is where we want to see the larger picture. Abraham, through Esther, talks about the good end of the stick and the bad end of the stick. And you could say that the good end of the stick is the how things turn out. And the bad end of the stick, or the things that you don't want, is kind of the contrast or the beginning place. If you can see that every seed will have a maturity and something that's appreciative. You can see how that unfolds. I hope this helps.